Good afternoon, it's Good Friday 2024, and a couple of weeks ago we decided we were going to change our mooring from Park Farm Marina, which is near Northwich in Cheshire, and we are relocating down to Staffordshire to King's Bromley Marina. So we're staying on the same canal this time, but just a bit of a different location. So far today we have had to navigate gale force winds, rain and hail, possibly a blizzard, I'm not sure, but the weather has been so changeable. But now it's pretty beautiful. So we're cracking on. We're going to get through Middlewich this afternoon and then start the Cheshire Locks, or otherwise known as Heartbreak Hill. So let's see how we go. Hello, good morning. So we got caught in some horrific rainstorm yesterday afternoon after we'd just left Middlewich. So we stopped just shy of Wheelock, and so far today it's about 12-13 degrees, getting up to 14 later, and we're here. Look at this. This is a pretty little area, little beautiful nice little building here to the side of the canal. So we're just about to carry on up the Cheshire Locks. After the success of the Bridgewater Canal in Manchester, linking the major coalfields with the growing industrial centre, a new age of canal building was born. Seeing the successes, ceramics master Josiah Wedgwood saw the benefits of moving his delicate pottery by water. Along with his business partner Thomas Bentley, a master of the English Enlightenment Erasmus Darwin, they enlisted engineers James Brindley and John Gilbert to formulate the plan that would be known as the Grand Trunk, linking the major ports of Hull in the east and Liverpool in the west. The canal was opened in 1777. It was a major industrial undertaking, having a number of considerable length tunnels along its route, one of which on this trip we will encounter a little later. Cheshire Locks, or Heartbreak Hill as they're affectionately known, are a series of locks climbing up from the lowlands of the Cheshire Plains up to the industrial Midlands in Staffordshire, stopping in the Kidsgrove area just prior to Harecastle Tunnel. Back in the days when the canals were used for carrying cargo, boats would be in pairs, with a powered motorboat pulling an unpowered butty boat, and the two locks side by side would allow for the simultaneous movement of the boats up or down the flight. Nowadays, unfortunately, an awful lot of them, as here, only have one of the chambers working. Approaching the tiny hamlet of Hassel Green, the M6 motorway roars overhead. There is a strange tin tabernacle, or the Pink Church here, which is made of corrugated iron. And it's a very curious thing. You can see it from the motorway as well. And there used to be a pub here called the Romping Donkey. Under the bridge on the right hand side would have originally been another one of the paired locks, but in the 1950s severe subsidence in the area made the lock unsuitable, and the new experimental design, a steel guillotine lock, was put in its place. It lasted until 1981 and was dismantled in 1988. I can vaguely remember seeing the remains of it in place. A very odd thing, and the only one on the system.
Hello and good morning. We are at Road Heath. We are just about to do the Lawton treble locks. So that's the paired diamond locks you saw earlier on in the video. And there's three of them directly after each other. So they're not a staircase, but they are three very close together. And yeah, there's always some joggers on, always joggers going past. So it's a kind of mixed day today. We've been for a run this morning and yeah, it's kind of chilly but nice and bright. So onwards up the Lawton treble, and we're going to get probably to sort of Kidsgrove later on today, and then see if we're going to do the tunnel this afternoon or just wait till tomorrow. So let's see what happens.
Around this area and up to Kidsgrove and the tunnel, the canal starts to take on a very unusual orange hue. But more of that later.
Hello, it's Easter Monday and it's a very rainy Kidsgrovian day, and we're by the very orange canal. There it is. We're just about to set off and do all our services, and then we're heading down to the fabled Harecastle Tunnel. Ooh, it's been a while since I've been through there, so let's get the day started today. So this structure behind here is actually an aqueduct, because the canal goes off onto the Macclesfield Canal, Hardingswood Junction just above this lock, comes round in a big loop and over this aqueduct. So it's an over and under type affair if you're going up the Mac.
Around here you can really see the orange colour of the canal. This is due to the local geology and iron oxide leaching into the canal from around the area where the two Harecastle tunnels cut through the hill. Here we encounter the foreboding beast that is Harecastle Tunnel. There are two canal tunnels cutting through the hill at this point. The first tunnel was built in the first stage of construction of the canal, and work began in 1770. The tunnel had no towpath, and so the boatmen had to leg their way through, which meant putting a long plank across the boat and two people using their feet to move the boat through the tunnel at a very slow pace. Considering the tunnel is 1.6 miles long, this would have taken a considerable amount of time and effort and was a real bottleneck which slowed down the movement of cargo carrying traffic. It was proposed that the second tunnel would be built to relieve this bottleneck, and work was started in 1824 and completed 3 years later. The second tunnel is the one we will navigate through, as the first Bromley tunnel was closed in 1914 due to severe subsidence, and is now just a relic of a bygone time. The second tunnel was built with a towpath to allow horses to be led through the tunnel, as opposed to having to leg it through, which would have significantly improved travel time. Even the second tunnel has suffered from major subsidence, and in 1914 an electric tug was introduced to the tunnel to pull boats through, as the towpath was becoming submerged below the water. In 1973 the second tunnel was closed for 4 years, while work was done to stabilise it inside and remove the useless towpath. The tunnel these days is managed by Canal and River Trust, and there's a tunnel keeper at each end to make sure boats get all the way through without getting stuck or breaking down. As you can see here, there is what's known as a gauging bar, which is considerably lower than the normal profile of the tunnel. They make sure that you take off any large chimneys and things off the roof, so we have to put our short engine chimney on. This is because of the subsidence and the works done inside the tunnel to shore up the walls. It gets very low in places. This tunnel also has an unusual feature in that the northern portal is open all of the time, whereas the southern portal has gates across it, and large fans operate within the tunnel, which is a huge noise, and you can feel the air being pushed against you. This is to remove any of the exhaust fumes from the narrowboat engines going through. It's also quite disconcerting because you can never see the other end as the gates are closed, so you don't know how far through you actually are.
The ghost of Kit Crewbucket haunts the tunnel. The spirit of a soul of a lady who was hitching a lift to London to join her husband. The two boatmen killed her and stole her possessions, and her ghost now lingers within the tunnel, manifesting as a headless woman and sometimes as a white horse seen galloping through the tunnel.
Approaching the southern portal, the gates are opened, and the large ornamental gatehouse holding the fans is revealed to you as you once again enter the light. Cruising through Stoke-on-Trent these days is a really interesting glimpse into our industrial heritage, with beautiful old cast iron bridges and old factories and potteries lining the canal. Every now and again you get a glimpse, like here, of the old bottle kilns in the background. The industry in this area lined the canal.
with the waterway providing the passage of goods to and from Stoke-on-Trent. There are only a handful of small potteries still operating in the area, but the Grade 2 listed bottle kilns still line the canal in places. A testament to an industry all but gone from this area, and a sad loss. Except for Middleport pottery, of course, which is brilliant, where you can get to see the old moulds and walk around the old Victorian factory. Leaving Middleport pottery, we encounter more of these abandoned buildings. This particular one, many years ago I was walking past and heard the distant sound of an old-fashioned telephone ringing within the building. A very eerie sound. All of these buildings would have been served by the canal, illustrated here by this old winching gear hanging at the side of the building to load the narrowboats, and yet more of the bottle kilns used for firing clay to feed the potteries industry. Just after Middleport, but before Etruria, was the site of the huge Shelton Steelworks. This provided employment for 10,000 people and was served by 4 of its own coal mines. The canal itself actually went through the factory, and I remember this when I was a kid. Goods would have been brought in and out of the steelworks by canal, another industry unfortunately long since gone. Much like many of the industrial cities served by canals, old loading wharfs are still there, where goods would have been loaded on and off the boats. Places where old bottle kilns are part of new residential developments, and huge railway constructions cross the canal, tagged with graffiti. But there's a strange urban beauty to it, a sort of decay, which I find absolutely fascinating. There is a beauty in these buildings, even though they are falling down. The old wharves still go off to each side of the canal, now long since filled in, but once serving factories and warehouses. We continue down the locks. Having come up to Stoke-on-Trent, we are now going down the other side into Staffordshire.
The start of our next day saw us encounter Dane, but stop there and let's rewind a little bit. Because Dane kept getting stuck. And so it was time for me to fire up the lister and give him a tow. Osiris is designed to be a tug style boat, but I've never actually been a tug for an old 1946 working boat before. But it was fun to get him off the mud all the same and get them on their way. Every time we encountered Dane, it was getting stuck. The water wasn't low and the boat wasn't low. I think it was down to the crew, and we had to pull them off a number of times. From around 2010 to 2015, I intermittently worked at this marina, as it was the sister marina to Tapnor where I used to work. I had some good times at this place.
Well, it's the final day of our trip, and you find us at Great Haywood. So we are just before the junction on the Trent and Mersey, and we'll be going straight across it. So off to what will be the right hand side is the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal, the Staffs and Worcester Canal. But we are going straight ahead towards King's Bromley, where our new marina awaits us. Apologies for not doing it much to camera, because it's been very wet and very cold in the last couple of days, so we've not had an awful lot of opportunity to do much filming, but we'll do a little bit today just to finalise everything. So see you on the trip.
From here, the canal passes the historic Shugborough Estate, a beautiful manor house with incredible grounds, and is now managed by the National Trust. Here we see Armitage Tunnel. It's no longer a tunnel, as you can see, as subsidence caused the sandstone roof to become unstable, and so it was removed. But it's still got the profile of a tunnel, and this little bit at the very end. You have to send somebody ahead to make sure that there's nobody coming the other way though, because you can't see round the corner. beautiful ideal standard, the bog factory as I know it, at Armitage Shanks. As the caption says, you will have read the name so many times before, and it's a great 1930s Art Deco style building.